This video is for business leaders who want to maximize their company's collective IQ and skill so that they can outsmart, out-innovate, and outpace their competition. Have you ever felt like employee development was a waste of your money and their time? Well, actually, you're probably right, but not for the reason you're likely think it is. So watch to the end of this video for bonus material on how just one person could turn around your entire organization's learning and development ROI. And my recommended video on deliberate practice mastery. It's not that L&D are a waste of time as such. It's that how, when, and where they're applied makes learning fast, deeply, and effectively virtually impossible. If you've watched any of my videos or read any books from respected scientific researchers or experts on the topics of how to study, how to learn better, and how to learn faster, it always comes down to two words. And I can't think of an exception to this except popular experts, that is people who actually are trying to sell something to you saying, oh no, you don't have to do that, I have a better way. And they are not experts, and they are never cited in the academic or in the very credible research anywhere, because they're not really experts, they're fakers. So notwithstanding those people who claim to be experts but aren't, as I said, it really comes down to those two words, which is deliberate practice. And I'm not obsessed with deliberate practice for its own sake, for just because it sounds good or it's fashionable. I'm obsessed with it because it works. I actually learned about deliberate practice in the real world from all of my teaching experience. Also, the decades before that, when I was teaching myself things that nobody else was teaching me and I wanted to learn how to do, it always felt hard. It always felt like the way I had to do it was to put in a great deal of effort. Turns out that that's what the science says. So after years of doing that and experiencing that for myself as a teacher and teaching myself, I then started to read and hear repeatedly in many books that I've since read and consumed, everything about deliberate practice over and over again, and one name, which was K. Anders Ericsson. He's the inventor of the 10,000-hour rule and of deliberate practice. Now, by an inventor, I mean the person who invented the term. He was actually a researcher and I believe a social psychologist, but a very well-respected academic researcher who is literally, or was literally, the world expert on world experts and expertise and how to achieve it. Unfortunately, the author that made the 10,000-hour rule famous was not K. Anders Ericsson, because he wouldn't have screwed it up because he discovered it or developed it, but somebody else who wrote a book whose name was, or title was, Outliers. So Malcolm Gladwell, the author of Outliers, didn't understand deliberate practice or the 10,000-hour rule, but the popularity of his book made those misinterpretations of what those two things are stick, because it became popular. Everybody heard about it. And there's some fundamentally missing pieces that make anything he said about it pretty close to nonsense, but not entirely. So, and that isn't just my opinion. K. Anders Ericsson himself said in his book as much, slightly differently, slightly kinder, but the same kind of thing. So the truth is, the best way to study is to practice deliberately or engage in deliberate practice. So I'll use those two terms interchangeably. Practice deliberately just is an easier way to say it in terms of our language. So essentially, to do that, you want to practice deliberately and to understand rather than memorize. That was another one I came to on my own in doing teaching and realizing that memorizing was so utterly useless and so superficial on anybody's ability to use what they supposedly learn when they just memorize it long enough to regurgitate it all over the test. So most employee training and development is such a failure, and it is because it takes place in classrooms, far removed from any opportunity to practice what they're learning, and worst of all, even further removed from understanding anything that's relevant to their jobs. So it's not to say that learning and development has to be focused specifically on what they do in their jobs, but if you're going to teach them other skills, you have to give them the opportunity to practice those skills during their jobs, not in a classroom when they would rather be back at their desk or their workspace, whatever that happens to be, working and feeling like this is a waste of time, because they're probably right. So employees will only understand, rather than just memorize knowledge, which they can, let me try that again. Employees will only understand, rather than just memorize knowledge, if they can practice it frequently with microscopically specific and concrete, immediate feedback, ideally from a master teacher or practitioner of that knowledge. And I distinguish between practitioner and teacher because to be an expert in something is in no way indicative of your ability and skill to teach it. Oh yeah, one other thing. They should be, that is, when you are engaging in deliberate practice, you should be practicing at the top edge of your current skill, to the point where I've seen some people who are in the realm of experts on this topic say that you should probably be failing 50% of the time, perhaps more, because that's where your skill level is, that you're struggling at the top edge to the point which you're failing 50% of the time to achieve your target goal, because you've set a very high standard based on your maximum skill. So essentially what this means is that what you're doing, if you want to learn it properly with deliberate practice, have it stick, have it absorb, and have you understand it, have your employees understand it, it means that it should be done on the job, not in the classroom, far away from the job, or in a different building than the job. It should be done every day, ideally with instant, specific, concrete feedback your employees and yourself can use to adjust the micro skills which make up the larger skill, which is whatever you happen to be learning. And that's the only way you can do it in a way which will produce knowledgeable, skilled, competent, understood skills and knowledge that anybody is striving to master. Virtually all employee training programs, virtually all employee training methods disregard every single principle that makes deliberate practice, deep understanding, and mastery possible. These days, it's actually so much easier to do something in the realm of, or most closely resembling deliberate practice in and out of the workplace than it ever has been in history because of technology. The simplest of these practices and the most effective by far, singly speaking, is video. That is using your phone to record yourself doing something. You have audio, you have video, you have an objective record to which you can reference. You can go slower or faster or zoom in. You can get most of the same feedback as an expert, but you can't obviously have an expert sitting over your shoulder all the time. That part wouldn't be practical. But you can learn how to properly apply the principles of deliberate practice, and with less frequent, but frequent, small pieces of feedback from true practitioner experts or master teachers, you can know what to look for by showing them a piece of the video. And they could go, oh yeah, I see this. This is what you want to look for. And thereafter, you can then more and more become your own teacher for each new part. When you reach your new level, you go back to them and you keep doing that. So it's not a perfect replacement for a master mentor, but it is objective and it's free on your phone or computer, and the best replacement that's universally available and easy to access basically at all times. And this is a wonderful segue into my bonus content for today. So thank you for watching this far. The bonus content is about what one person can turn around your learning and development in your organization. And I mean, regardless of size. Of course, it will take longer the larger your organization is, but one person can make a profound difference in this. The one person who can redefine or single-handedly revolutionize your company's learning and development is a master teacher. A master practitioner of any specific skill other than teaching or other than coaching is not the right skill, because they can, alongside master practitioners of any other skill, then teach those master practitioners how to teach, because that's what they may or may not have as a skill. You can be a brilliant practitioner and a terrible teacher, or you can be both, but they are separate skills, fundamentally speaking. So essentially what you would want to do in a case like this is you would want their whole and entire full-time job would be to teach the master practitioners in your company to teach their apprentices to practice deliberately. That is to do deliberate practice correctly, and then to be able to coach themselves more and more as they go. Because deliberate practice isn't complex. It is challenging, and it would need to be done consistently and follow the criteria, but it works better than any single other thing for mastering skills and mastering knowledge. That is understanding and then being able to apply them any damn place you please, because you actually understand it. You're not regurgitating details and examples of somebody who actually does understand it. And then, in addition to that, whomever's doing deliberate practice, which should be everybody in your company anyway, that whoever is the next level up from them, their mentor in doing so, would give them brief but frequent expert feedback whenever possible. Now, ideally, that should be daily, but that doesn't mean it can't be 5 minutes. It may not be possible, but here's the thing, right? You get these large chunks of time going to the classroom, spending money, getting crappy results, because then they just go back to their desk, they forget it, and they do things exactly the way they did it before. They go back to their workspace, back to their factory, back to their HR department, and do things exactly as they did because they never had a chance to really apply it. So that's it. My recommended video for today is Deliberate Practice Mastery. I'll put a link right up there for that, and it will also be in the description. So please share this video with every learning and development and business leader you know. This has been Crush It Club 287, Employee Training, Learning, and Development. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.